What's up guys, my name is Alka and I'm partnering with Astralis R6 to bring you this Fuze video. We're going to go over things like his loadout, how he should be played, how most people play him versus how he should be played, and just general tips that you might not know. So let's dive right into it. First of all, let's go over his loadout. He has the option between the ballistic shield, the LMG, and the AK-12. So overall, he has a very, very powerful set of weapons he can choose from. The shield, you're not really going to bring much ever. I mean, if you want a shield, you can just play other operators, and you're really limiting yourself in terms of gunfights because, again, you know, they can always shoot your shoulders, they can shoot your feet if you're standing up, and all you have to fight back with is a pistol. So I would recommend bringing the LMG or the AK-12, not only because the shield really is limiting, but because these are two of the best guns in the game, arguably. The AK-12 has really good fire rate, really good damage, and 30 bullets with a 2x scope and a lot of different attachments for versatility. So the AK-12 all around is widely considered one of the best AKs, if not the best AK in the entire game. So running that would not be a bad option. And then you have the very, very famous Finka LMG. This thing, absolute monster, 46 damage, a little low fire rate, but it makes up with it for having 100 bullets in its magazine, which is insane because of how easy to control the recoil is with all of the different attachment options, and you can bring any scope you want on it, really, so that's still really, really good. And then you have the option between the PMM and the GSH. I would run the PMM because it does do 61 damage as a pistol, but I run the GSH just because I have black ice on it. So just so you know, standard loadout would be LMG, PMM, and then whatever secondary gadget you want to bring. He has choice between the hard breaching charges and the breaching charges. Normally you'd want to bring hard breaching charges because you can go above his fuse and then get the hatch if your team needs it. But if your teammate doesn't bring vertical play like Sledge or Buck, and you don't really need the hatches to get open because you have a Habana, a Thermite, whatever it may need be, you can bring the breaching charges too. You're going to see more often that your team's going to need the hard breaching charges, but either are viable. It just depends. And then lastly, going into his gadget, he has something called cluster charge. You essentially put it on any surface at all, as long as it's soft or reinforced, and it shoots out 5 grenades in a sort of like left to right pattern. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you do have to be mindful of where you aim the cluster charge in coordination with where the grenades will go, which I'll talk about later. Actually, let me bring you into a custom and I'll show you how Fuze works. Alright, so going into the basics of Fuze, essentially what he does is you have this cluster charge that you can put on soft or reinforced surfaces. This goes for floors and walls, and you can put it anywhere, but you put it on, and then you press the same button again to let the grenades come through. So I'll show you as an example. And that is a bunch of grenades that just went everywhere. As you can see, I went from right to left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grenades. It even opened up the soft hatch here, but that is essentially what it does. So with Fuze, what you see a lot in the lower elo is people trying to use them to go for kills. If they're really smart, they go in with a drone and they ping a guy. They say, hey, there's a guy below right here. So then you get your cluster charge, you put it on the floor, and then you activate it and you shoot grenades at the players below. I am going to tell you why this is wrong. So Fuze is hard to get kills with because the noise that it makes whenever you put this thing down is very, very loud. So people, whenever they hear that noise instinctively, are just going to move to a different room, and those grenades that you just used are completely useless. So let's say that your team is trying to push into vents in order to get the bomb down, and there's things like Jaeger ADSs, well, my discs, frost traps, Legion mines, Kapkan traps, Valkyrie cameras, deployable shields, bulletproof cameras. I mean, there's all kinds of utility that they put into this site specifically because 9 times out of 10, you're not actually going to have anybody playing in the site. You're just going to have a bunch of utility and then maybe some head holes to look onto that objective. So as a Fuze player, what you do is instead of trying to get drones and ping people and go above and kill people, what you can do is you can send literally 1 cluster charge right here. You activate it, and then those grenades spread out and kill all of that utility that I just mentioned. So now your teammates can go in through the vent window or through the main double and go into site a lot easier without having to drone for utility, or shoot it and have it be on their way. So using Fuze to clear utility instead of using Fuze to get kills is a lot more efficient and useful for your team. So if you want to rank up, I'd recommend doing that. Also, a really useful tip for Fuze that I don't think most people know is wherever your Fuze charge is pointing is where the Fuze grenades are going to go. Sounds obvious, right? So what you can do, I'm just going to show you as an example. Let's place this Fuze charge down. Fuze charge, that's so hard to say. So as you can see, there's 4 little sections on this Fuze charge. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Wherever the green light on this Fuze charge is where the grenades are going to go. And this typically is just wherever you place the Fuze charge down. So I just had it explode there. The green light was facing this way, so all of those grenades are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way. So if you know where a player is and you know where util is, that just makes it a little easier for you to kind of pinpoint where your grenades are going to go and efficiently clear stuff. So let's look at where they went. Where's that Fuze charge? I'm trying to find it. Oh, I think it was in vents.
You have located a bomb.
Had to have been in vents. Yeah, right here. So as you can see, it was right there. I pointed it this way, and all of my grenades went this way. None of them went back here, none of them went here, none of them went here. What most people think when they play Fuze is that all of your Fuze cluster charges just go down, and they sweep from left to right downwards, but they actually go forward. So whenever you Fuze charging from above, just keep that in mind. If I know that somebody is tucked in this corner right here, I'm not going to Fuze them like this because my Fuze charges are just going to go all the way out there. They're just going to go everywhere where he's not. So what I'd want to do, I know he's here. I'm going to go far away from that, and I'm going to point my Fuze charge at him. As you can see, green light facing him. And now all of those charges are going to go towards that area. So I know I said don't use it for kills. So let's pretend that we know that a deployable shield is there and an ADS is there. All of those just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way because I placed my cluster charge right here. That was kind of a bad example because they all got stuck on these server racks. But you get what I mean. They're going to go in the direction that that green line is pointing. So just keep that in mind. Now, there is a role guide on this channel that you should go check out. And it talks about the main roles that are in Rainbow Six Siege. And Fuze is normally going to be played by a flex player or like a second/third entry player. So if you're playing hard support for your team or you're playing, entry, I wouldn't really recommend picking him up. But now that you know what role he is, you can better coordinate with your team. So if you're going in and you're trying to clear above and you have fraggers that are trying to go above the site and they're trying to clear so that your sledge can come in, your role in all of that is probably to drone your teammates in. So you have a fragger and your sledge behind, you're droning, you're like, hey, this corner's clear, this corner's clear, this corner's clear, all right, come in. And now you, as the 3 armor with a really good gun, can either refrag or do your job. The whole thing with 3 armors is normally they don't roam clear because they can't take space quietly and quickly like 3 speeds can. So 3 armors are usually the ones that are going in and doing their stuff mid to late round, but because Fuze typically plays above the site whenever the site is below, you just want to make sure that you're not dying because your role as clearing utility is extremely important. So droning in your teams and refragging off of them and playing behind them once they've already come in is something that you should be doing as Fuze. Another really good tip for Fuze is, let's say that we have the bomb down and I'm still alive with 1, maybe 2 of my cluster charges left, and I know where the bomb is. I can go above where I know where the bomb is, or I can just put a charge right here where the bomb is. And the cool thing about cluster charges is you don't have to activate them immediately. You can let them sit, and you can activate them remotely from anywhere in the map. And then once you hear a guy defusing, you just blow it up, and the guy that's defusing is either dead or he has to run away, and that wastes a lot of time. So that's just another really, really good tip that you should keep in mind while playing Fuze. So my final tip is, where should you be playing Fuze and when? So I picked Border because personally I think Border is a really, really good Fuze map. This is just because compared to a map like Theme Park where there's a lot of horizontal space to cover when you roam clear, Border, there's not a lot of space. It's kind of a small map. So, whenever you're trying to go above into the objective, you immediately can go from outside the map to above, instead of having to, you know, like on a map like theme park, instead of having to go through like 7 different rooms and then boom, you're above sight. It just makes it a lot easier for Fuze players to do what they need to do on smaller maps. And then obviously playing Fuze on sites where you need to go above is really good, but you don't have to do that. You can put it on walls, you can put it on windows, any barricades, right? You can put it on reinforced walls as well. So I mean, I guess this is a bad example for a site to play Fuze with. Actually, not even, no. I mean, you can play Fuze inside of Office if they're in archives, and you have like a Thatcher, a Twitch, nades go through this, whatever, to get the, you know, the electricity off of it, and then you put a cluster charge on this wall, and then that clears out like the majority of all of archives, and then you have a guy in this window that has to sit and watch it. So the guy in archives has to do one of 2 things. He has to leave here, and he has to be exposed to the window that your guy is on and then die, or he sits here, takes a few charges, die, or there's actually more options. He can run into Office where you and your teammates are and die, or he can drop the hatch, and now he's completely useless to his team until he flanks up, and then we just have a free site. So using him to clear people out of corners, not kill them, but just clear them out so that maybe you can refrag, or just to get him out of there in the first place, also viable. But because he got buffed to where he can put it through reinforcements, that just makes it so much more flexible with what you can do with him, to the point where it's like, if you don't have another operator that you're playing, try to pick up Fuze, and then just, you know, you see, okay, there's a bunch of utility right here, they have a shield playing here, I'll put a Fuze charge on this window, face it this way, and then get the shield, the Wamidus, the Jaeger, everything, maybe even a player behind this wall that's playing Africa if you're lucky, but you get what I mean. In conclusion, stop playing Fuze to get kills and start using him to clear out players and to clear out utility, and I promise you will start to see yourself win more and rank up faster. With that out of the way, that's going to be pretty much it for today's video, guys. Don't forget to sub, like the video if you liked it. My name's Alka, and I'll see you in the next one.